here we go again. It's Friday night on the bus. We're back. It's felt like a really, really long week, to be fair. But yes, it may be an international break. But regardless, that time goes on. It is once again still Friday, and it is still just after 9 o'clock. And as always, you know what that means. It must be time for that Friday feeling here on the Boys on the Bus. Yes, say business as usual for us, regardless of the fact there is no game to preview this week. But hey, I was hoping maybe for the second international break in a row this season that perhaps, okay, maybe we could take a weekend off and it'd be quiet. But no, Liam, the Celtic board are out and about causing all sorts of havoc with a meeting this week. So we've got a lot of minutes to get into there. They've officially published those. So yeah, we've got a lot of meat on the bone to chew over essentially. And yeah, we'll be having our say on that because yeah, it's the hot topic right now. So aye, we can't even get a quiet weekend, Liam, on an international break. The board are still forcing us to come out and talk about them. So yeah. But here we are anyway, mate. Regardless of all that, how are you doing anyway, sir?
I'm doing all right. I forgot there was a Scotland game on yesterday. That's how, like, even with them close to qualifying, I still couldn't get interested in it with Steve Clarke football. And watching the highlights of that, or what they were calling highlights, please, I hope he's never our manager. But other than that, what do you do? It's international break, innit? And but they're no shying away for the headlines, are they?
No.
It's like they really make it. They definitely go out their way to make it about them. And it's like it's a victim mentality, and it's sad. It's fascinating to watch. And then, did you read through the minutes in that, Phil, or the condensed version?
I've skimmed through. I've got them open on another page just now as well, but I've watched a couple other pods today. Like I've seen Hamish Carlton did a sort of breakdown of it. So yeah, before we came on though, the two of us have got quite an interesting point of view where I'm not surprised by a lot of the things, but you were surprised. But we'll get into all the ifs, all the reasons and whatnot as to why we both have our opinions on it. But ultimately, yeah, it doesn't make for good reading, to be honest. But it's a lot to get through. But there's some absolute whopper lines in there that we'll home in on. And of course, before we do all that, folks, you know what to do. You can do all that good stuff and help us out massively again on the channel. We are now closing in on 1,000 subscribers. We're getting there. We're over 900 now, just a smidgen over 900. So you can help us out massively if you happen to discover us in the next couple of days, tonight or over the next couple of days on your algorithm, and you like the cut of our jib, then by all means hit the subscribe button and hit the bell notification to be reminded when we're on the road. Of course, you can contribute to the algorithm by hitting the like button. That gets us more traction, that gets us recommended by YouTube to people who like Celtic podcast related content, so we'll appear in more people's recommended boxes. What else will we do? Yes, you can get involved in our comment section tonight. So let's have a wee look and see who is in. Sligo Boy is in. The Pope is here. The Pope is here, everybody. Say hello to the Pope. Jim Dolan is in. 420 is here. Jim C is here. James Kennedy. Gary Simpson is here. Who else have we got? If I said everybody is contributing for. Oh, David Scullion's in as well. He's now changed name to Scully.
Smell the glove.
Smell the glove. Yep. Joe Henry is in as well. And yeah.
Rob Maguire.
Yep, indeed. So yes, thanks for all coming in and joining us on this fine Friday. There's Monty just appeared as well, so he's here. So yeah, just take your usual seats, folks. A lot of the familiar names turning up here on a Friday. It's a place to be. And of course, you can share the link of the new channel far and wide. If you happen to see a tweet of a show, retweet it, and hopefully can spread awareness of the channel. And of course, if you do like your audio versions of the podcast because you don't have time to sit down in front of a TV and a computer and catch up on it, then of course you can get the audio version. There is a link to the SoundCloud website in the down below in the description, and become a member if you wish to become a Boys in the Bus member and get a little Celtic scarf next to your name on YouTube just to prove that you're a Boys in the Bus member. Then by all means you can do that for $1.99 a month. And as we always say, none of our content's going to be behind a paywall or going to be on Patreon and anything like that. It's just a wee tip of the cap to the drivers and whatnot. A wee to keep diesel in the tank essentially. So yeah, God, the good stuff is getting longer and longer all the time, Liam. But there we go. I think I've covered all the good stuff for this week. So let's get into it, Liam. So we're going to start we're going to start with a question here for you, Liam. The title of tonight's show is what happens when an irresistible force meets an immovable object? And in this case, irresistible force is obviously the Celtic fans in the movement, and the immovable object is also a very stubborn board, and they met this week. So, Liam, we did find out what happened this week, and effectively the answer was nothing, which a lot of people kind of expected. You know, there was a hope that there would be some progress, but as the minutes showed us, Liam, there wasn't much progress at all. But yeah, that's what happens, mate. We now know the answer to when an irresistible force meets an immovable object in this case, mate.
I was shocked, man. I was on with Terry and I was thinking, oh, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was because I was having a drink again and it was just kicking in that. But I was feeling really optimistic. I was feeling optimistic that they were going to go in there and the board were going to say, listen, okay, you know, here's the 5-year plan. This is what we've got. And I hope we would have came out with some sort of sense, you know, just guidance or optimism for the future, knowing where we're going to go. And yeah, I'm shocked. I'm shocked that they've doubled down. They've no back down. They've doubled down. They've doubled down deep. And yeah, all right, let's see where this is going to go. But yeah, I'm shocked. Like, there's a lot of money on the line. This is big corporate business. You know, money is, you know, it's like any big brand. You got to take your consumers and your customers serious, right? You know, and I just don't think, I don't think it's they're no bothered. They're willing to just hunker down.
Yeah, well, I think that's summed up best by the fact there was literally a moment where Michael Nicholson shrugged. And one of your favourite subjects every week, Liam, it seems to be the new thing, is Graham Tyrrell likes to call it the Brendan Bell, essentially, whenever we get on and talk about Brendan. And you're quite vocal week in, week out on your feelings towards Brendan. I think you're sort of at the end of your tether with him with what he says. But obviously, he has said a few times this season, talking about transfers and whatnot, he's used the term club signings. That's obviously been a thing that he's brought out a few times. And all of us fans have looked at it and went, yeah, it's a club signing. There's no way that Brendan Rodgers would sanction that. But when it was put to them at the meeting, Chris Mackay and Michael Nicholson apparently confirmed that, yes, Brendan does get the final say on every signing. To which he was then asked by a member of the collective, well, why does he keep using the term club signing? To which, astoundingly, and it's actually in the minutes that this is noted, Michael Nicholson shrugged his shoulders. I don't know. That just sort of summed it up. But yeah, that line is just, again, as I say, that if you want to find a moment that epitomizes what happened on Monday night, I don't know. So there you go.
I mean, I don't know. I've never heard of that before in the meetings, unless it was something that was really significant. I mean, could you have put Michael Nicholson made a face? You know, like, you wouldn't put that in. You know, if you went, you wouldn't put that. But the shrugging of the shoulders, well, that just goes deep in meaning that it means.
And keep in mind, Liam, sorry to cut in, but keep in mind that the club have published this. They have looked at this and have said, yeah, we're happy for that to be in there.
And I think that's telling. That's your point right there. And I think what I've always believed, that Brendan's playing both sides. I think he's panicked. He's scared of the fan base. I think he's no for that. I think he just doesn't want to go through what he came back to finish something and, you know, try and re-get his name back and stuff, and with the fans, so he'd sing songs about him and things. And I don't think. Yeah, that tells you everything. It's that I always thought he's been involved with the signings. He always talks them up big, and then it's later on, well, it's more club signing and that. And yeah, I think he's just playing both sides. My opinion, you know.
Right. No, it does check out, but yeah, it is an interesting one because Brendan's obviously been quite vocal in that one, and yeah, us fans, we look at the optics of it all, and we're like, well, yeah, there's no way that he's signed off on the likes of a Shin Yamada, for example, given that, you know, the things that he said. In fact, it's Inamura gets it even worse. You know, Yamada always training really well, but never seems to be anywhere near the squad. But yeah, Inamura, from the second he came in, right away. It was all, we'll need to look to maybe loan him out. And then he played in a friendly against Cork City, and he was, by all accounts, not too bad, to which Brendan then backpedaled and said, oh, he surprised me, and I've got a bit of thinking to do there. And then we didn't see him again until he appeared in that Livingston game. There was a lot of talk. I remember a lot of rumour going around that we couldn't play him before the transfer window ended, because if we did, he would be ineligible for a loan. There's something to do with FIFA's rules where you can't play for more than 2 clubs in a year. But it turns out there is actually a loophole where you can, if the seasons don't overlap each other. And because, or they do overlap each other, I think it was, and it's because the Japanese season runs from March to November and ours is August to May. It wouldn't count. It would be if it was 2 seasons that are the same, like run from like August to May. And yeah, but anyway, he's only appeared there, and yeah, the things that Brendan said has also made us think that no way he sanctioned that. But yeah, Michael Nicholson begs to differ on that one. But yeah, Merv doesn't bode well.
My only thought in that is, I was listening to another podcast the day, and they were talking about the stats and this sort of system, a scouting system that we have within Celtic, that so we've been using a long time, that basically just breaks players doing into data.
Yeah.
Like, do you think Brendan Rodgers might be signing off in the data? So he's given a prescribed, and it's looking, okay, we're looking at a person with so many stats in this side, so much defence, like that whole breakdown, that they're going by the analytics and no going with the actual person or the player. It's like that. I mean, that's the danger when you got, a group of accountants running a football club. We become so dependent on data and analytics and that we've lost that nous, that Jock Stein sort of thing and swagger of actually finding and identify a player that maybe the stats don't exactly work. I mean, we all know data and stats and stuff lie all the time. I mean, I work in advertising, right? So 1988, when Nike lost Just Do It, that failed every single metric. It failed every single consumer test, everything. And he went, fuck it, we're doing it. And it probably became one of the most iconic phrases of all time. But it didn't perform for the data. But when people see it, they had emotional connection. And so you didn't need the data. I think we're becoming so data-driven, and looking for perfection in the selling market and that. Like, we're forgetting where to find the flair players and players that can maybe change a game and stuff, rather than just their basic sort of output. You're looking for like the mindset and being able to encourage people in that. Yeah, we seem to be regressing in that front.
Yeah, I think football in general has just become too data driven. Because again, where are the Mavericks? We talk about the eye test. You can watch a player. Fans, can watch a player and right away. The best example was a couple of years ago when Rio Hitati first joined. I can remember his debut. It was against Hibs, because obviously they came in the 1st of January. It was him, Maeda, and Ideguchi. The 3 of them all signed together, and I can remember the debut against Hibs. It was a Monday night game we'd played, because it was like a winter break. I think there'd been like a mini COVID shutdown. I think before the break we'd played St Johnstone in an empty stadium because there was another flare up of COVID, and the government tried to force that upon us, but it didn't last. But anyway, we played this Monday night game, and Hitati right away, you could tell you just knew right away just by watching him. All the fans came away from that game that night going, this guy looks good. He takes some risky passes. He was very much on the front foot, getting forward. But then there was another well-known Celtic podcaster out there who's all about stats and analytics, saying on his podcast on like the Friday, oh, we shouldn't get too excited. He attempted 11 passes and only completed 4. Again, the eye test says it all in the time. And then, of course, Hitati, under Ange in particular, okay, there's an argument now that Hitati might be going through the motions, as probably a lot of this Celtic team right now who've maybe stayed a bit longer than they should have. But at that time, I was like, no, Hitati looks like an absolute player, and nobody's going to tell me, oh, he only completed 4 out of 11 passes all night. And it's like, no, you could just see the excitement and the buzz around him right away. And I just feel that football's losing that in general. Celtic are just part of the the system nowadays, where we seem to have lost the ability, the scouts in general, just to find these players, just watch them and judge it on that rather than what the data tells you. Everything is too data driven, which bleeds into the style of play that we've seen this season. Too much playing out from the back instead of, look, this isn't working. We need to be a bit more direct, a bit more route one. Instead, it's no, we're still going to keep doing that. We're going to keep passing it sideways. We're going to wait for space to open up. We're going to go with the horseshoe, Liam. We're going to keep doing it. And I think it's just indicative of the whole game these days, mate.
I don't know. You think we'd be getting players that could play that system, that he could drop them in immediately. And that doesn't seem to happen either.
The players that he signs off on.
Aye. Well, I've seen through the week as well that Man City are in no rush to get Simpson Pussy back. They're fine. Like there was talk about maybe them cancelling his loan or that because he couldn't get into Rodgers' system, Oh, yeah. This passing out for the back system, which they sort of invented, But I
did like Terry's call on that with the whole Brendan saying he needs to get up to speed with the training, and it's like, but he's been at Man City. You're trying to tell me they don't train as intensely as us? Come on now. So that's one of those red flag moments. I was like, I don't know about that, Brendan. Don't know there, mate. But I'm surprised to hear that though, because I think Simpson Pusey will be chopping to get back down there, or at least get back to Man City so they can send him somewhere where he'll actually play. Because I do get the feeling now he ain't going to play a single minute for us.
No, and you're not going to see him in the B team either. So, fair play to the boy. He's probably half decent. It's one of these things you never know with Rodgers. You just never know. Honestly, I don't have a lot of belief in him. As I've always said before, it's like, when you work in advertising and stuff, you write some shitty ads and stuff like that, and you start believing your own bullshit and that. And so you got to have a really. So I'm pride. Like when I hear bullshit going off and just like it doesn't make sense to me. I usually start follow those feelings, and that's what I've had with Rodgers, where it's just like everyone he says to me, I don't lap it up. It's I look the way he says it. I look at his body language. I listen to what he actually says and all that. Mm-hmm. And it's just very repetitive, and it's very, I don't think he's sincere,
Yeah.
That's what leads me to believe he's playing both sides.
Yeah. Oh, no, you've been very consistent in that. You've been very, very consistent in calling that out. I say there's one or two viewers I think we've got that. Daniel Henderson, I think it is, always leaves a comment after any show you've been on saying, Liam, he gets it. He sees what I see about Brendan. You can see through some of the stuff that he says, because there are times where you're just like, come on, man, you're spinning a yarn there.
Phil, Stephen Kennedy says Pussy is in the B team tonight.
Is he? There you go, breaking news. Well, there you go. It's almost like we manifested that to happen by just saying it, and there you go. It's just magically happened. Oh well, maybe he will up his speed.
What if I can manifest more for a Friday night?
Well, let's have a look at
manifest together. Come on.
Is that like us trying to manifest? Is that like for that time we spent trying to manifest Liam Scales at left back? All the times that we were talking about our predicted lineups for the weekend, and it was anyone with Greg Taylor for you, and it was like, what about Liam Scales? But it was just never ever happening. Let's take a look at some of the other Whopper lines on the minutes. So, what do you make of them when they were asked? The first question was mostly, what is the vision for the club? What is the sort of like going forward? What is that? And they once again emphasised that we want to be world class at everything we do. So, Liam, are Celtic world class at everything they do, mate?
Everything they do, every way they do it. I'll be watching you. Oh, I don't know. Are they? No. What brand doesn't say that? Chris, you work with the smallest guys and stuff like that, and you ask them what it's like, and it's like, oh, we do it all, and we're like uncompromising, and we're in this, and it's always world class. So what you ask him to do is, okay, well, we'll be comparative. Who else do you see as world class, and what do you have in common with them? Mm-hmm. Okay, so if I'm looking for a world class football team, I'm probably thinking Liverpool right away.
Yeah, I'd say them. Yeah.
Okay, so what do we have in common with Liverpool? Well, their stadium's up to the art, right? Their stadium's sound, it's wired, it's everything in it. And that's a stadium that's just as old as ours, right? They've no moved to a new ground or anything. I don't believe, like maybe since they were Buto or whatever they called when they started. That was 18 Canteen, right? I don't know. I think I don't think if you compare us to a world class team like them, no, we're not. If I compare them to North American sport franchises, sport entertainment, I'll compare them to the Vancouver Whitecaps, a team that's probably far less than anything than Celtic in perception and all that. Are they world class? Yeah, I've been in their offices. I've seen their training grounds. I've seen a lot of their coaches. A lot of them come from Celtic, by the way. There are a few ex-Celtic coaches and B team players that are over coaching here in Vancouver. They were able to attract a world star in Thomas Muller, although it's at the end of his career. But they were also good enough to develop a player like Alphonso Davies, who left for here and went to Bayern Munich. They've got another young boy, 16 or 17, that's coming through right now as well, that's playing with the first team. You know, and so are they world class? I mean, I see it in their marketing. I see the stuff all over the city. The stadium's top notch. They've got some of the most amazing food in the world in that stadium. All sorts of vendors. It's clean. It's safe. It's hot water in the washrooms. The seats are really good. The people are great. You got a ticket exchange. That's world class, and that's over in the Wild West. The farthest you can get away from Glasgow in the Western Hemisphere is Vancouver. You know, probably right. And we've got like a team that's only been around since 74, and then only joined the MLS in about 2012, 2013, maybe earlier. But you know, they've managed to put world class into what they want to do, and have actually acted upon it.
Yeah.
So it's easy to say it, but you know, you got to be it, you got to live it, and you got to show. That's usually a plan as well, and you can't hide it because people tell you whether it's working or not. If you're hiding it, that's not world class either. World class is being transparent because you're proud of your process, you're proud of your strategy, and you're proud to say, you know, how you're going to get your return and all that. And so, you know, you're completely transparent with that. And that's what the good brands and the big brands are like, you know. And yeah, I think we fall short of that drastically.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, the exact wording was, it was question one: what is the club's long-term football strategy, and when and how will this be communicated to supporters? To which Michael Nixon confirmed that the club's strategy is clear. So you go, Liam, it's clear. The club aims to be world-class, a world-class football club in everything we do. This includes footballing success through dominating in Scotland and competing in the UEFA Champions League, which we're not this year, based on creation of UCL players through the academy, player recruitment, player trading, technical functions, and development of training facilities. So that's the sort of plan. So on that subject, Stephen Kay says maybe with the new Barrowfield complex, we can now get more homegrown talent into our team in years ahead. Because that is something that they have. They're saying with the new training complex, that is the aim. You know, they said it was the second most expensive, construction venture that Celtic have taken on after the stadium. And the stadium was obviously built back in, the mid to late 90s was the renovation of the stadium. So this Barrowfield complex is more expensive than the Lennoxtown training complex. So I'd like to think that we can, over the next few years, start to see a real, crop of talent coming through. Obviously, this season, Kobe Donovan looks like he's got something there, but it will only come out with the more games he plays. Once Alistair Johnson's back up to full speed, how much game time will Kobe Donovan get? Remains to be seen. Dane Murray has had wee moments here and there as well. Again, though, it's all about getting game time. That's the only way you're really going to develop him, because unfortunately, B team games aren't going to really cut it the level they're playing at. But with the Barrowfield thing, say, it remains to be seen, and hopefully we can start to see it, because again, the club have pushed the line. It's getting harder and harder to sign Champions League players, but this is one of the reasons why they have developed the new training complex, is to develop Champions League level players. So that must wet your whistle, Liam. That must, tickle your fancy there, that one. Champions League players coming through at Barrowfield, mate. How does that sound?
I mean, it's not far off. I mean, there's a lot of good boys, a lot of good young Scottish players right now. I know, the world class coming through Barrowfield. And I was going to be really optimistic there, and then I just caught myself, and I went, what am I doing here? No. I mean, Tierney, but Christ, Tierney's now 30-year-old. It's like, and so, I mean, Kobe Donovan, it's going to be great, but it's like, we've seen other boys come through that had a wee, a flash. I thought Tony Ralston had a flash at that age as well when he came through and then, he was played sparingly till Ange came and he was nearly at the door.
Mm-hmm.
So, I hope Kobe Donovan gets his chance. He had a good game for Scotland last night. I seen he had 3 assists against a just scudded Gibraltar 12-0 last night. I think the B team, Scotland B. And he supposedly had a very good game. Yeah. I mean, so you're not going to see like the young players that come over here. I mean, they're all training at Lennoxtown now. They'll no be at Barrowfield, and it's good that we've got this, but yeah, we've got to get some homegrown talent out of it, or I don't know what the return of investment is in the women's game, if that's even worth it or not. Like what they bring.
Because the women are going to be using Barrowfield as well. It's the B team and the women's team to train at, while the men's first team will train at Lennoxtown exclusively. So, Barrowfield is purely for the reserves and the women's team. So, but again, we're told it's the top of the line complex, so it should benefit them massively.
Well, what happened with Starfelt and we just said that I'm glad we're keeping the first team and the women's team apart, because that can be a disaster.
Yeah, it can. We're still trying to find a solid replacement for Starfelt. To be fair, a couple of years later, we're still to be fair though, I will say this, and I don't. I've been quite critical of the guy. Like this guy's kind of my equivalent of Greg Taylor for Liam, but I've been critical of Liam Scales a lot of times and always been like, can't we do better than Liam Scales? In fairness, Liam Scales has actually been one of our better players this season. He genuinely has. He's actually been not too bad at all. Just don't ask him to pass out for the back. But unfortunately, like I said earlier on, that's just football nowadays. It just seems to be that's how we go. We have to play it from the back and whatnot. But I think defensively, he's actually been doing pretty well. So, yeah, I want to continue. Hopefully, Liam Scales can keep that runner for him going. Another interesting line that did come out as well from the minutes. And again, it's like, how can you... On one hand, you can say how you want to be world class and compete in the Champions League, but they were asked about the European football ambitions. And to justify, like Michael Nixon put forward, that we've been in group stage European football 19 out of the last 20 seasons. It's not always the Champions League. Now, don't get me wrong. I've said on here, the Europa League. If we could go on a good run in that, I wouldn't hate it, because I don't look down on the Europa League. I think it's a very English Premier League thing to do. Like the fans down there look down their nose at it. But even this season, like even when we dropped into it, I wasn't that excited, and it's not because I'm being a snob for the Champions League. It's because I looked at our squad and went, I don't think we're well equipped to even have a decent run in the Europa League. And so far, after the defeat to Braga, I mean, I hope to God we can recover and, get a result away from home, like a win somewhere on the road that will make up for the loss to Braga. But right now, I don't see that. But I did find that line interesting. I mean, we've been in European group football in 19 of the last 20 seasons, to cover up the fact, but it's not always been the Champions League, has it now, Michael?
We get knocked out by a team that's not even in Europe.
I know. I think that's the Chinese border. Yeah, add that one to the list of achievements, guys.
I mean, that's the thing. They've expanded it so much with so many games and, and the extra leagues and all that, you can get like 1,000 teams in it easy. So it's like, everybody's getting a game in Europe right now. But at the big table. And the big table, as we see in the compensation package, what you get for goals, just going through, wins and all that sort of stuff. Now, we've seen what, the champions, the UEFA champions made less than we did last year. They were right next to us, but we made more than them. And that shows you, we need to be in the Champions League, and we need to build a squad for the Champions League. Can't just say, no, we're happy with the rest of it because we didn't build the right squad to compete. Because right now, we're not even competing in this league. There's still other teams that could give us a right good seeing to. So, I don't agree with that one either. I mean, it's data, right? Yeah, he's right. Those numbers say that. But, like being first, second in Scotland, you're always going to get European football of some sort.
Yeah.
No, it's just they want us in there. They need us for the television revenue just to spread it around. That's why there's teams from Kazakhstan and all that stuff in it. They're trying to bigger TV presence. That's all.
Keep in mind as well, the one time in this last 20 seasons that Michael Nicholls has highlighted that we did drop into the third tier competition. Remember that under Ange for like one game? Yeah, we were literally papped out by Bodo Glimt at the first attempt to ask. I remember when we dropped into that, a lot of people were like, oh, we can win this, Europa League. We're quite competitive at that, but now we're going down to the Conference League. Oh, we can do that. And yeah, we were just sent packing right away by Bodo. So yeah, that was another low light essentially from the last 20 years of European football. But I imagine that one was missed there. Of course, there was a lot of talk as well about obviously the transfers and things that we've heard before. I mean, I saw something interesting last week, and it was an article from February 2024. So just after the window that we brought in Nicholas Kuhn and Adam Eder. That was the only signings that we brought in. Remember, there was a massive backlash, particularly aimed at Adam Eder, who it wasn't the boy's fault. He was a late signing in the window, but it was a similar article to things we've read before about the club had shared their frustrations. They didn't get all the targets over the line, and you could literally just copy and paste it to some of the things that obviously has happened for this past window. But they do still like to highlight that they have strengthened the first team squad. By bringing in the names they always go to right away are Benjamin Nygren and obviously Kieran Tierney, because they have played the most game time. I've said before on here, I'm not too harsh on the whole Kieran Tierney thing. I understand that obviously he's been very much bereft of first team football for a couple of years now at Arsenal under the madman that is Mikel Arteta and the way he operates. So obviously he's had to get up to speed. He's played a couple of 90 minutes here and there for us. But I thought at the start of the season, I thought Tierney, the first few games, him and Johnston going forward, seemed to be a good sort of time. They were good getting forward either side. But I feel when Johnston got injured, I think a lot of the workload went to Tierney's side because, let's be honest, Ralston just isn't it. And I think that was having a massive detrimental effect on Tierney and tiring him out even more, because probably if you go and look at the games, not that you'd want to watch the Kyrak games again in the Rangers game, because they were some of the worst games of football I've seen. We probably did go down the left-hand side a lot more than the right, and we're playing it out from the back. So I'm hoping when Johnston comes back, with those first few games we were talking about the Johnson and Tierney tandem coming up from fullback, we start to see that again with him. And Nygren is a strange one because numbers-wise, we're talking about stats can prove anything. Numbers-wise, I think Nygren might be our top goal scorer right now in all competitions. I think he's got to have a shout with it, and obviously with the number of assists he's had, so there is that. But again, using the eye test, there are just massive moments where he looks miles off it. But again, his numbers show that he's contributing. He's capable, and he does have. He's a very hot and cold player, I find at the moment. But yeah, when it comes to them trying to justify improving the first team, and I say those names are mentioned in the minutes, that's the only ones that they can really go with, because the rest of them, club signings, as we talked about earlier on, there's probably a case for Sriracha seemed to be quite lively in all the games he's played. But again, how much game time is he going to get? He's only a loan for the season. But yeah, the transfers thing, I'm sure when January rolls around as well, Liam, we're going to be right back to scratching our heads over some bizarre, the way the club acts with the transfer policy, how they drag their heels. I'd like to think that this is some kind of watershed moment, but again, I'm not getting my hopes up, and I feel like if January comes, we could still be seeing a lot of the same tropes that we're seeing right now, mate.
Well, it doesn't look like they're ready to change their philosophy in any way. So yeah, I can imagine it will be. They've got a list of data-driven players right now that they've identified just based on numbers. Probably don't even know what their faces look like. And they're just going about the business that way. Going back to the recruitment this summer, I think the one to watch is going to be probably, as we move forward, I think we're going to see a really good player in Sriracha. And I hope Rodgers can find a place to play him within the team, so that if he is contributing and he is one of these players, I'd love to see him move up a wee bit. You know what? If Hatate ain't cutting it, move him up there. Or you know what? You said it, Nygren's got great numbers, but he's got shitty vibes. right? There's a lot of stuff about Negrin that just runs me the wrong way. You know, all this, fucking that.
No.
You know, like I can't go that in a player that's only been here 5 minutes.
Yeah. The celebration bit I didn't mind. I know a lot of people got really annoyed with that, but he's been doing that celebration. That's like his thing. But I quite liked that Ian Acho sort of told him, look, back to centre stuff, we've got a game to win. But the one that does get me is when he goes to take set pieces and he's doing all that, and it's like, well, deliver a good ball, my man. And then we'll obviously, because our corner ratio, we say it enough times, is abysmal. The amount of times, you know, we just can't even beat the first man, whether it's Engels taking it, or whether you know, Negrin goes and takes it, or you know, if it's even Jota when Jota's fit and all that. It also feels like we've never got a consistently good set piece taker. But yeah, that the does annoy me when he's got to take the corners. And he's like, come on, you'll try to G us all up. I mean, I get why players do it, but deliver some half decent balls, and then we'll be a bit more confident and a bit more, you know, a bit more noisy when we do get a corner.
Oh, we don't know how. It's not like we don't know how to be fans. Like we need some, you know, some nomad from Sweden to come in and gear us up and tell us when we should be cheering and when we don't. Come on, we were playing football when they guys were still building igloos. So now, just going back to Sriracha a wee bit, he captained Uruguay last night.
Okay.
Anybody in the chat, do you know what position he played? Did he play left back, right back? He's a hybrid, right? Mm-hmm. And I kind of like it. We've got a guy that's captain in Uruguay. His first game back for Uruguay. That shows you we might have a player there. I think we've only got him for a year, right? He's on loan. Mm-hmm. Aye. So anyway, that's the best signing is a loan signing.
With no option to buy, as far as we know. But when he came on last week against Motherwell, because interestingly, we changed the shape of the team. We were playing free at the back, I believe. Or was that against Braga we did it? No, it was Braga, sorry. We went free at the back, didn't we? And he came on in that, but he was playing left midfield. So yeah, we have seen that, you know, Brendan has, you know, he's shown a willingness to actually try something different. But yeah, every time Sriracha's played, I felt he's looked pretty lively. So yeah, it would just be typical, of course, the guy who comes on loan without any sort of option to buy, any sort of guarantee to buy, or something like that, is the one that looks quite good. So then we'd have to go back to the negotiating table and see what we can do at the end of the season. But yeah, he has actually looked all right. And I thought his delivery for the game against Kilmarnock, when he stuck the cross in for Maeda's header, was excellent. So yeah, he looks like a lively one, and he's definitely more than capable of filling in for Kieran Tierney. Because I think that was also another thing that was playing into the Kieran Tierney issues early on, and why people were starting to get a bit like angry, because when he was going off, Liam Scales was moving to left back, and he just doesn't click at left back. So it was highlighting how weak we were there. But I think now we've got a more than capable alternative in Sriracha. So I'm quite happy with that one. And to be fair, so hopefully if he continues doing what he's doing, then we never know, maybe we will go back to the negotiating table and get something worked out for next season. But that's a long way off, and we're relying on the board negotiating, so that could be a bit of a long process. Now, there's a comment I've highlighted that Big Dom was having a chat with Graham Tyrrell earlier, and this is something that gets debated a lot. And I think Graham had said in reply to this that Dermot Desmond's came out and said that he's no interest in selling, but Big Dom is under the impression he suspected that a bidder might be in the wings, which would explain why Desmond and Co are bolstering the balance sheets. Now, this is obviously the ultimate goal, I think, for the collective and majority of the fan base, is we want to see some sort of fresh leadership at the top of the club, because it has been stagnant. It has got stale, too comfortable. We do need some guys with some new vision, but I would love to think there is something out there that, you know, we will see. But I agree with what Graham Tyrrell said in reply to that. I think Desmond's got no intentions of selling up, and probably when he does, it'll be his son. His son will take over the shares and whatnot. So I feel like it'll just pass on to the next generation. Maybe his son will have a better vision and whatnot for the running of the club. But yeah, I'd love to think there is some kind of, like, you know, but I think if there was a chance that some new investment was going to come in and buy the club, I've got a feeling it could end up something similar to what Rangers have got, where they have basically been brought into a network. They've got a consortium of bought them up, and let's be honest, they're going to be a bit of a feeder club for Leeds United, because it's a cool thing now for all these consortiums and these businesses to buy up a collection of clubs. You know, you've got the Red Bull teams, you've got the City group. There's a group that I think Everton are tied to now. The wee network of teams. Obviously, Chelsea, they're linked to like Strasbourg and stuff like that. So there's all these things. So obviously, Rangers now are in this thing where Leeds United are kind of in their pyramid. And I feel like I want Celtic to be part of something like that, you know, and that now brings its own risks, Liam, because we saw this season with the Crystal Palace fiasco in the Europa League, because the guy who owns Palace also owns part of Olympic Lyon, and they were both going to be in the Europa League. Apparently, it's new rules this season that joint ownership can't happen in UEFA competitions. So if, for instance, Red Bull Leipzig and Red Bull Salzburg both are qualified for the same European competition, one of them has to get precedent and the other one gets booted down to the competition below. And if we want to be in the Champions League, that's going to be a lot of risk if we ended up in one of the types of deals, wouldn't it, Liam?
Well, you never know. So you have to think about, so who out there would buy us? And if you look at right now, like Snoop Dogg, what did you just Swindon? Swansea, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And there was a thing, you know, get all the news there here. Donald Trump was talking about today about buying. He says, well, if Arabs and stuff can buy clubs and like football clubs and like giant department stores and that, maybe he should do that and liberate England or something, right? So, you know, for a certain, we'll end up with.
Oh no! Don't even contemplate it.
It will be worse. It will be like Eric Trump or something. It won't even be him. Maybe Ivanka. Fancy it, you know?
Oh no!
Coming out and cheering on. You never know. That art imitates life. That was one of the plots of Succession, the Brian Cox thing, where one of his boys buys him Hearts, and they actually have him doing a team talk to Hearts. It's like, yeah, get out there, guys, get out there, you know. It's like, and then he comes back and he goes, "Why did you buy me Hearts?" He goes, "I'm a Hib supporter." He goes, "No, it's Hearts." He goes, "I know my team." Anyway.
Brian O'Rourke's on board. He says, to be fair, Donald Trump buying Celtic would be utter box office. It'd be utter carnage. It'd be absolute carnage.
Hey, so, but there was a rumour about a year ago that Jeff Bezos was interested in buying a team, and one of the teams that interested him was Celtic. Now, if you look at all the billionaires and all the massive egos out there right now, so you got Tom Brady, right? US quarterback, he's put a consortium together and he's bought into Birmingham, right? They've got their own TV show. You got Ryan Reynolds, Marco Horn. I mean, I can't even consider Ryan Reynolds like super A-list or anything. Like the other guy, he's great. I love him in Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but I wouldn't consider him A-list as well. Yep. You know, and they did really well. And I think I don't know how much they bought Wrexham for, but they've turned that in and they're moving up. And so, you know, just like you're buying your Wayne's Labubus or your Life at Wee Labubu or something like that, the billionaires are buying football clubs. And you try to think, all right, so who's out there? So right now, we've got the worst one ever. We've got the most boring, just like, it looks like the Monopoly guy, the stash, big eyes, everyone about him just screams, run away. So who out there? I mean, I'm surprised Rod Stewart's never bought us. There's a guy that loves the club, he's minted, right? So if Tom Brady or Snoop Dogg or any of these guys can get, you can't tell me Rod Stewart, can he put a consortium together and buy Celtic? Now, we might have to burn the place down because I don't.
Yeah.
I'd massively. Well,
if the Green Brigade are currently unhappy with the hierarchy, if Rod Stewart was to take over, given his political leanings that he's shown, I think they would want to burn the place down.
Well, the board would love it because nobody on the board would change.
Oh, that's true, actually. Yeah, that's true.
As you were.
Oh, God.
But that's the reality that's out there. He's like, all right, so who else we got, you know? And come on, Butler, McAvoy, Karen Gillan, come on, you're not making box office now. Put a consortium together.
I saw a comment earlier on, actually. It was
Peter Mullen.
Graham Tyrrell says Snoop Dogg, Bono, and Conor McGregor. There's a consortium for you. Jesus. Scary.
No, you want just all you need is replace Snoop Dogg with Kanye West.
Oh, God, it gets even worse. Well, you've set the chat off here with the Donald Trump mention.
All right, so the Kardashians' mum, right, Kris Kardashian, Google her right now. She's looking at crumpet. She's like some plastic surgery. She looks like about 18. She's gorgeous. It's all plastic. She's Scottish. She's either born in Scotland. She's either born in Scotland or her mum's Scottish. And maybe the Kardashians will buy Celtic. I mean, we love a bit of tat, right? We love to merchandise. We could take
we certainly love that.
Next level merchandising. Get the Kardashians in. That's my vote.
Scottish roots. See, the possibilities are endless.
I find out today as well, Eugene Levy, who his brother used to be my accountant at one point in Toronto. His man's for the Gorbals. Never mentioned that the whole time I talked to his brother.
Wow. That's a small world again.
Found that out today.
Well, I was going to say as well, what you mentioned, Donald Trump, you've set the chat off because San Fran Celtic has said we'd win the Nobel Peace Prize.
Damn right.
Joe Henry says make Celtic great again.
Glasgow's green, white and orange.
Kev One says, oh no, a crazy golf course on Paradise. So yeah.
That was brilliant.
Jesus, man.
Oh, we don't win the weekends as a crazy golf playing the pitch. I mean, we could use next to Barrowfield, we'll do a giant golf course as well.
Well, one thing that would happen, because the only thing that they seem to take account of in the minutes was that communication has been abysmal, and that's the only thing to take on. But that's an easy thing to admit to. But hey, you know that if Donald Trump, as you were saying, Liam, was to take over Celtic, communication wouldn't be a problem because he never fucking shuts up. So you'd never get rid of him. So we would definitely be kept well informed of what's going on. I don't know if he'd communicate it very well, but he would try at least. But yeah, that would just be absolute carnage. But anyway,
just get Big Lani up there. She'll let us be her plaything. I'd be her plaything any day.
God almighty. Oh man, this show's taking a hell of a turn. Also, Monty suggested George Galloway, Celtic chairman.
He's a Celtic fan, right?
Yes, actually.
Right, well, so yeah, no problem flying the Palestinian flag now.
True, actually, aye, that's a fair shout. But yeah, the minutes, they didn't really, as I said at the top of the show, I wasn't shocked by what came out, even though, it just kind of showed how delusional they are. As the former Leicester manager Nigel Pearson said one time, you are an ostrich because their heads were buried in the sand. A lot of things they just didn't really take on board and didn't agree with and whatnot. But you were surprised, Liam. It opened your eyes to just how delusional they were. So it was quite interesting to see that.
I'm just surprised they doubled in. I thought they would be, I know, a wee bit more like, all right, Keys, I sort of shut the bed, and whatever. Forgiveness is always easier than permission. I thought they went for forgiveness. Nah, they just doubled in. Nah.
They did. So, yeah. But of course, if you haven't read them and shit, you can actually get them on the Celtic website. They have got a link up there. You can download the PDF file, and it tells you all the people who attended on the night. There was also a massive representation from the Celtic Fan Collective, and I'd say a lot of interesting things said in there. I think as well the Fan Collective sort of made it quite clear to them during the meeting as well that look, we're here to kind of help you. This isn't going to be, we're not here to be hostile. We're here to sort of point you in the right direction. But as you say, they doubled down rather than, back down and not admit that, maybe we did get a few things wrong on that one. But we've got the AGM coming up in November. So we'll see what stories come out from that. Again, that is a chance for shareholders to say their piece. You'd think that shareholders would have quite a lot of power, but we did hear a couple of stories in the last few years that people who have gone to the AGM to try and, question the board and hold them to account have been removed and silenced. So we will see what comes in November. But the AGM is coming up. So we'll keep our eye on that one. Now, Liam, here's an interesting one for you. I don't know if you caught this through the week, but I was out there in the world of Celtic podcasts on YouTube. There was the Daily Record one that Chris Sutton takes part in, and I always enjoy listening to Chris Sutton. Always got much time for him because he does kind of just say it like it is. Has he became a bit of a Simon Cowell style pantomime villain at times? Maybe sometimes he does lean into it a bit too much, but he is very honest at times. But there was a comment he made on this one particular episode through the week where he was talking about the current situation with Callum McGregor, because most fans are quite miffed as to the drop off in McGregor. He's been one of the biggest culprits maybe for the drop in form, but no, Chris Sutton is not having it, Liam. He said that the issue is not Callum McGregor, it's all the players around about him. So, Liam, when you're talking about the horseshoe and you're talking about passing sideways and whatnot, it's not Callum McGregor, it's the players around about him that's doing it. Now, I can't say I buy into that totally, because we go back to the comment as well that Brendan made after the Rangers game, the 0-0 draw, where he said something along the lines of, this isn't the way Celtic play, and I'm not telling them to play that way. So in that case, is he saying that the whole team are just going against him? Is he throwing them under the bus? Is the captain out on the park directing traffic? Because I've highlighted this before. If you watch pretty much every move that we do on the park coming out from the back, it feels like Callum McGregor has to get a touch of the ball every time. We always have to look out Callum McGregor and find him. Instead of roll it down to the left, out to the left and work it up that way. It's like, no, we need to get it to McGregor first and then he'll pass it. He'll decide what way it goes. But yeah, Chris Sutton was of the opinion that the players around him aren't on the same level as him, and Callum McGregor is still, in his mind, the best player in the team. So how do you feel on that one, Liam? Do you think McGregor is just starting to regress because that's what happens at that age? Or do you think it is a case of everyone around about him just isn't as good as him?
Well, we've changed everybody around about him. But here's the thing, I like Callum McGregor. I've always liked he's a good player, he's been a good captain, he's a good boy, good Celtic boy, you'd be proud of him. I'm sure half of Glasgow is that know him and stuff. And but at some point you just wind down. Are the players around him up to speed? Maybe no. Maybe he's trying to do too much. Maybe that is it is. Maybe he just needs a wee rest and sit out and look at the team. I thought when he came back for that jaw injury, when he came back with the mask, I thought his game really improved because I think he had a chance to sit out and watch the team and watch Ange's play. And then he was clever enough to find his role in that team and find out how he was going to perform and what positions he was going to take up. And, I thought when he came back, when he wore that white mask, he was Batman for 2 or 3 months there when he wore it.
He was fantastic.
It was really brilliant. He came back and he looked every bit the superhero we needed at that point. And I think him coming back at that time as well and being brave enough to play just with that mask on really turned that season around. I think now I see him coming back, and as you said, I see him asking and looking for every ball and all that to turn around. And maybe that isn't. Maybe he doesn't trust Liam Scales. Maybe he trust. Maybe he just want to really help him. And I think that he looks like he's a really helpful type player. I think he's doing way too much. And I think it wouldn't be a bad idea to sit him out and give Paulo Bernardo a chance in that team. And then if Paulo Bernardo or even Arnie Engels at that point works well in that position, then move him up into Engels' position. Move him. He's proved nothing yet, right? Let's see what he could do there. Or Hatate. Hatate seems he's not having a great season. Or change his shape and play him in behind the two strikers. The one thing I always liked about Callum McGregor, he's always great for a goal outside that 18-yard box because he's got a striker instincts, but now he's got a midfielder's point of view where he sees the space open up, and it's always like lasered into the corner and that through traffic and all that. You just got to get him back in that position where he could do that because that's where he's most effective. Get him in there so that he can be the guy in the box. He should be playing the sort of position Jack Grealish is playing right now, right? Where you're that pivot anchor player that's making things happen. I'm hoping he still has the legs, you know? And maybe that's it. It's just getting a bit... I think he just needs a wee rest just to have a look and see how the team's playing around him because, I agree with Chris Sutton in a way, but also... he's definitely struggling though. You can't say he's not, right? So something has to be done to fit his game.
Well, what Graham Tyrrell says there, the comment I've got on the screen says he likes Scales as a ball winner, but he can't progress the ball and pass out. We'll talk about the passing out thing. So it could be what you're saying, but maybe he just doesn't trust scales, and he's also added there about CCV. He's just been shite. I don't know if shite maybe a bit harsh, but he hasn't been. Would you go as harsh as that and say he's been totally shite?
He's been underwhelming.
Aye, underwhelming. I definitely would say. Aye.
It's not much I've seen to him. Even the chances they've had are coming off his side, his head, his face. The headers in front of the goal where normally we'd have counted on him to put them away.
Graham Tyrrell's doubling down, not backing, and he's saying fucking shit. So there you go. He's having it. CCV.
All right, he's shite then.
There you go. He's doubling down. There you are. He said that. I'm doubling down. But yeah, it's see with McGregor. Just go back a year. So he was by this time last year. I think he'd already scored like 5 or 6 goals off from outside the area. He was just pinging them in at the start of last season. But yeah, he barely ventures beyond the halfway line now. So again, is it a manager thing? Goes back to that comment, Brendan. I'm not telling the players to play that way. Well, somebody is. And for some reason, in every game, it's becoming a real slog to watch Celtic this season because every game we basically divert into this same system where it's a bit of a struggle and we just keep passing it sideways, waiting for space to open up. And it's like somebody, so then you would look to, okay, then Brendan, if you're not doing it, let's give you the benefit of the doubt. You would look to the club captain because he's technically a manager on the park, like the way Scott Brown used to direct traffic out there. Is it Callum McGregor that's doing it? Are all 11 players just deciding, now we're going to go against what the manager's instructed us? So I'd
be getting a password for Gavin Strachan's iPad. Maybe there's your clue.
Maybe
they always shows him that, and I'm sure it's just an arrow going that way.
They're bloody data and analytics, man.
You have to turn it this way. Turn it this way, Gavin. Forward. No sideways. Forward.
That's it. Forward. That's what we want to do. Because, yeah, there has been a couple of moments, to be fair, in isolation where Callum McGregor has played some blinding forward passes. It's just at the end of it. I remember one at Kilmarnock a few weeks back. We beat them at Rugby Park. Tunekti was very unlucky not to score on his debut. It was a great little chipped ball from McGregor. Came forward with it. So he still got it there, but he brought the ball forward. Chipped it over the back line. Tunekti was in behind and tried to lift it over the keeper, but it was just unlucky. Just maybe judged it a bit wrong, put a bit too much on it. So it is there. McGregor's still got it to do the types of passes, but it just feels like everything needs to be the safe pass and play it sideways. And I get the whole thing about, like, if we've got the ball, they can't score, ball retention, but it's like, yeah, but we've got games to win. I think some other podcasters watched this week said that Celtic haven't scored a goal in the first 20 minutes of any games this season, which I'm just like, that's worrying. That's really bad. So yeah, we're not coming out the traps flying, and we're taking too long to get started. Goes back to what you said before, Liam. Forget controlling the game. Let's go out and win the game first. Then we'll try and control it. But it feels like we're doing it the opposite way around, where it's like, yeah, we'll just control the game for now. It's like, no, we need to up the pace because, yeah, things are obviously, we're heading towards the winter period now. There's one more international break. But then after that, it's going to be like, what, November, December, January, February, March, 5 months, 4.5, 5 months solid with no breaks at all. Because I think the winter break's been taken away now. So it's going to be, all hands on deck. So we need to start, finding some form because the games will just be coming thick and fast after the next international break in November. But obviously the run up till that, we've also got Dundee at Dens Park. Then we've got a Europa League game against Sturm Graz. Look at that however you want. A lot of fans already have made their mind up that Europa League's a bust. I said earlier on, I think after losing to Braga, we need to somehow make up for that by winning on the road. And you would look at the Midtjylland game and think, well, maybe that's the one. But Midtjylland beat Nottingham Forest in Nottingham in the last round of games. And it's like, okay, the one away game where you'd look at it and go, maybe a winnable game. They managed to beat a Premier League team. And I know Anne just had a terrible start at Nottingham Forest, but it is still I'd say Nottingham Forest squad is still significantly better than Midtjylland's. But yeah, they won there. So that's not going to be easy. And I say Sturm Graz will provide a challenge and all. And then, of course, the big one for us is coming up. We've got a week with 2 huge games where it could be Brendan's job on the line. Hearts away and Rangers in this Cup semi-final. Had Russell Martin still been the Rangers manager going into that, I would have said both managers' jobs could have been on the line going into that. But obviously, he's gone now. But yeah, that's a huge one. Hearts at Tynecastle followed by Rangers in this Cup semi-final. And yeah.
Will will we start seeing cardboard cutouts of Steven Gerrard in and about Glasgow?
Seems to be the talk.
The rumour. The cardboard manager. Let's get them back out. Get them up there. I mean, imagine if we end up playing with him in the stand. Honestly, Rodgers, you have to win that. You can't. I don't know. My thing is he's going to bottle it like he bottled against Barry Ferguson. Come on and just gives that stupid answer. Quality, intensity, and calamity, and I can, just I don't
know how I feel about that Rangers game right now. I think if it was still Russell Martin, even at that, we still didn't even lay a glove on them when it was Russell Martin's team. We were terrible in that game, and they were just as bad. It was a dreadful, dreadful game of football. But of course, the difference with the Cup semi-final is somebody has to win on the day. That would have to have been a winner. Even if it had gone all the way through to penalties, which I would back us in a penalty shootout right now, to be honest, after our recent exploits in them. But somebody would have to have won that day. But now that obviously they're going to change it up, so it looks like it's going to be Steven Gerrard. It's not confirmed yet, but it's looking quite likely. But again, I just like they could have a new manager bounce. Again, we'll deal with it when we get to it. Obviously, it's still a good few weeks away. But the Hearts game obviously comes first before that. And I think I saw a comment go up there, I think it was Graham Tyrrell, that said that, Hearts away is a must-win. And he's right. He is. And to be fair, a record at Tynecastle can be a bit deceptive. A lot of people will have this mentality, and I include myself in this, where you look at the fixture, you go, Tynecastle, tough place, tough game. But our record's actually no bad there. I mean, we have had some croppers, but ultimately in the balance of things in the last decade and whatnot, we've done all right there. But it's just, I think, just the optics right now with the way Celtic are playing. Hearts have had a decent start. Celtic might just roll in there and just turn up and just do them, because we have had some big victories at Tynecastle. Not just we've scraped it. Sometimes we've went into Tynecastle and have battered them. And then other times we just don't get going. So it's a real, it is a must win, I would say. Now I know there's still a long way to go in the season, but I think just to prove a point, and as you keep on going back to Liam about Brendan showing these must win games, his record in 2025 is piss poor. It is piss poor, and he has to show that he can get a tune out of this team in a must win situation, and he's going to have two come along in a week with Hearts and Rangers back to back.
So here's the big question, and if he doesn't win the games, are we looking at changing the manager at that point? Because there's a full calendar year that we're going now without winning a big game. And that's got to be addressed at that point. He's lucky he's got this board as a huge distraction from his own performance. Yeah. But then, I think he's part of them. I think he's part of the board, and they're all at it there. I think he's just given himself a safe distance because he's the public face of it all, and he's just in self-preservation mode.
Well, it goes back to what I asked Johnny last week when the three of us were on. When we got into that subject, saying if there came a point this season where Brendan was removed before the end of the season, and I asked Johnny, would you trust this board to make a box office appointment, to really have a rabbit up the, put out the hat, something, an ace in this up their sleeve, something, to make us all go, oh, that's a really good forward-thinking appointment. I don't trust them right now. And again, so many fans are calling it. We're just so worried that this is the plan. Sean Maloney's in the building for a reason. I'm like many. You go from being a manager, he was like the Wigan manager or whatever. He's managed a couple of teams, obviously, and now he's effectively just doing a sort of desk job, for lack of a better term, essentially, where he's the pathway manager for the youth team to the first team, and it's like, it just seems like he's overqualified. I think Terry called it that, and he's right. It is a bit overqualified, so why is Sean Maloney here at a very young point in his managerial career? He should be out there still, managing teams, if that's what the route he wants to go down. So a lot of fans are worried about that. Then, of course, there's the whole John Kennedy. He's been kept around for a reason. Are they wanting him to be the manager? And then I keep on saying that Scott Brown. Celtic still do a lot of work with Scott Brown media-wise, even though he is currently the manager of another team within the Scottish football pyramid. He seems to still do a lot of stuff with Celtic, and I'm like, are they keeping him close for a reason? So I just can't get this feeling in my head that if Brendan Rodgers was to get sacked for something, if it was in the next few weeks, if the results do go bad against Hearts and against Rangers, if it did come to that, I don't trust him to make a real good appointment. It would be, oh, we'll give it to Maloney at the end of the season and see how he does. And it's like, no, we can't afford to do that. They have to go out and, really bozo. But again, I don't think they want a guy that's going to challenge them and push them. They're going to want somebody who is going to, just whatever they want, whatever players they push to them. They won't go out and do things like Brendan's done, where it's like, oh, it's a club signing and take little digs at them, even though you are probably right in what you're saying. He's probably playing both sides, but I think they would look for a manager who's quite willing to just be like, oh, I'm just happy to be the Celtic manager, like a Sean Maloney would be.
It's just reading the room, right? We've already seen they can't read a room. So just like appointing Neil Lennon in the shower, Scott Brown just seems to be the obvious, uninspiring choice. And here's the thing. I think probably half the support would probably applaud it. Because I think there's an intensity to Celtic support and all that. There's the people that really follow it, and then people are just, oh, Scott Brown, and don't really think about it and say, oh, he's done well with the teams he's been with, and he was a great player and automatically become a good manager. But the people that follow the club, we're talking podcasts, all those people that look at the game with higher level of scrutiny and that, look and see, okay, well, this is just another job for the boys. And I don't know, Scott Brown could come in and do an absolutely amazing job, but it just seems it's there at a convenience and it's not out of merit in the sense where he's available and he's known. And as you said as well, he's not going to cause ructions. He's going to do what's best for Celtic, and that's what's best for the collective board and that whole process thing that they're trying to do, where they just govern everything. And he would probably be all right. And again, they would hope that he comes in and he wins his first 5 games significantly with a style of football everybody loves. And then they've dodged another one. This board's got more lives than Jason Voorhees. Friday the 13th is coming up, So.
Fair point. Aye. It's it does worry me. If Brendan was to be gone, I think Brendan will be here at the end of the season. But they say this set of games coming up at the end of the month and going into November is huge. Like I say, the Hearts game, we've got to go there and get a win. We've got to sort of put them in their place essentially and show that after a pretty abysmal 2025 when it comes to big game situations, we need to show that we can do it. And as it stands right now, Hearts is a big game. I mean, it's always a tasty fixture anyway, but with the way the league table's sitting, Hearts is a big game. And obviously the League Cup, I said a few weeks back with the way our season had started and the sort of like the cloud that was over it with the exit from the Champions League, the sort of drab draw with Rangers. One of the things that I felt, okay, can lift the mood is you've got an opportunity to lift a trophy before the end of the year at Christmas time. That's a great sort of launching pad going into the new year. And so to me, I thought, well, the League Cup is always the one. If you ask any fan of Celtic and Rangers as well, because they're the 2 biggest teams, it's like, which of the trophies would you sacrifice, to win the bigger prizes? Most fans will always say, the League Cup is like the least important of the 3, even though obviously to win the treble, you've got to win all 3 of them. But I think right now, with the way the mood is at the club, I think it'd be a perfect remedy to pick up a trophy. Results can obviously lift the mood of everything, and you've got a chance there. But yeah, if we were to lose to them now in the semi-final, I mean, the final's going to be against Motherwell or St Mirren, whoever gets through. So you've got to imagine it's pretty much on the cards, whichever one gets through there. It's not going to be a final against Rangers. We have to get over them. So it's a huge, huge game, that one. I say the game with Hearts. I can't stress enough how big this is. And say we're not even at the halfway stage of the season. But yeah, it's going to be a big one. And hopefully, we come back, we can get a good result against Dundee, a strong result against Sturridge Graz to try and pull us back into, lift off the spirits in the Europa League stuff. And yeah, then we're playing at Tynecastle. I think it's also helpful as well, Liam, that I know Hearts have got a free week because they're not in Europe, but our European game on the Thursday night isn't an away game. It's at Celtic Park, so there isn't like a travel to like the outer reaches of Europe 3 days before we play Hearts. I think it being at Celtic Park is quite handy, but overall, I think all the away games we got in Europe aren't too bad. It's not like when we went to play Kairat, we were nearly the Chinese border. I think all the games that we've had to go to Serbia. We've got a game in Italy, a game in Denmark, and a game in the Netherlands. So it's actually not too bad. But yeah, this one before the Hearts game coming up, we're at home anyway, so that's not too bad. But yeah, let's say it's all eyes on this next set of fixtures when we come back. But yeah, it'll be Dundee first. And again, I'll say it tentatively, given how bad they are and Stephen Presley's our manager, you've got to imagine that if there was a fixture to come back to, Liam, that's probably the one you would want right now as a team like Dundee. But with that Celtic team at times, you just don't know, man. Horseshoe going to come out of Dens Park?
No, I hope no. No, we just have to flip it around the other way. Nacho, Maeda, all them leading the line, and have the horseshoe work that way, that everything's going towards our centre forward, everything's going towards goal opportunities. He's just got it back to front, Rodgers, that's all. Turn it the other way around.
Aye, that's it. That's what you got to do. By the way, there's an interesting from Patrick McLaughlin about Craig Bellamy, what he's doing with the Welsh team. But I think if Wales qualify for the World Cup, then I think obviously that'll be his priority next summer. I know that Terry was trying to speculate about the Sean Maloney thing, saying it's because they're going to go for Roberto Martinez. I think Portugal are going to be at the World Cup next summer. So I think his priorities next summer are going to be taken. But Craig Bellamy, I know that his Welsh team are in a situation where it could come down to a game against Belgium to pretty much qualify. But hey, if Wales don't, I don't know, Patrick McLaughlin there making a shout, could Craig Bellamy be a dark horse for the Celtic job next summer?
Jesse Marsh for this bear. Canadian bear.
Marsh, yeah. Jesse Marsh, he's a...
I like the way he's got Canada playing. He knows how to... It's a weird team. He's got guys that are superstars that play with Bayern Munich and Juventus and Celtic. And then he's got boys that are playing in the MLS and a couple that are playing in the Canadian League. So, and he's getting a tune at them.
Before we go, is Vancouver one of the host cities for the World Cup next year?
Yes, we are.
Could you? What if Scotland do qualify? The Tartan Army get based in Vancouver. If they get a game in Vancouver,
mate, everybody's welcome to come stay with me.
There you go.
I'm about a 5-minute walk to the stadium. I'm right in the middle of Gastown, and I'm absolutely buzzing for it to happen down here. And I've never been to a World Cup, so this would be the first one. I don't know if we'll get any tickets to that, but when the Olympics was here, I got to see Canada play hockey, and honestly, Canada playing hockey in the Olympics in Canada is unreal.
Yeah,
it was amazing. So.
No, it'd be a good experience. I did the Euros in 2016. I went to France to get in as a neutral because Scotland didn't qualify for that one, as is usually the story. But it was still an amazing experience to go. I managed to go to 5 games. It was a fantastic time in France. But yeah, if it comes to your own door, that'd be great because we had the Euros came to Scotland partially in 2021 because of the whole across the continent. It was like 11 different cities across the continent. Hampden obviously held a few, but it was restricted crowds, and obviously Scotland were crap.
COVID, wasn't it?
It was COVID. We were just coming back from COVID, and Scotland had a few games against the Czech Republic where Patrick Schick scored for the halfway line because only Scotland would concede that type of goal. And Croatia beat us as well, and we played England at Wembley and drew 0-0 in that one. And then I think there was like one more game in the second round that was at Hampden. But yeah, I don't think the fans could really enjoy it because of just the way that tournament was organised and with the circumstances around it with restricted crowds and whatnot. But I think Scotland's a joint host for the Euros in 2028. I think it's Scotland, England, Ireland and Wales are hosting Euro 2028 together. So that'll be a bit more organised, I think. But yeah, it'll be good when the World Cup comes to Vancouver next year. And I say if Scotland qualify, Liam, you could have the Tartan Army marching through Gastown, the bagpipes and everything on the way to the stadium.
Already done it. I was organising the Scotland games down here in Gastown. We had a piper, we had a load of great boys that were all here. Some had been here for ages. Some were just newly here. We had guys that drove, seen the game advertised when I put it out on Instagram, and I had guys that drove 1.5, 2 hours to come in and party with us, and we had an absolutely brilliant time, win or lose. down here, and Gastown's great. It's full of pubs, and it's like the oldest part of Vancouver. I hope we get the Japanese here. I hope it's the Japanese crowd, because there's a lot of Japanese here, and other Japanese, like there's a lot of them learning English and working here and that, and they're all brand new, and I think their fans would really enjoy it down here, and we'd have a good laugh with them. Anybody but England, I just don't want to see England come here.
Yeah, that's the thing. Because we don't know obviously the teams haven't been finalised yet for it. I think it's December the draw is, and then you find out where teams are all playing. But yeah, Vancouver, I think Vancouver and Toronto, somebody said in the chat, are the two Canadian cities that are hosting games. So hopefully, Liam, that when it's all drawn, you get some tasty games coming to your city, man, and you get some good fan bases coming as well, man. It'll be a good experience. But yeah. We'll wrap it up there, mate, because that's an hour and 15. Even without a game to preview tomorrow or this weekend, we still managed to go for an hour and 15 minutes.
3-0. Yes. 3-0.
Well, Scotland are playing on Sunday, I suppose, against Belarus. So I guess there's that. I say they need to keep the momentum going after beating Greece. But yeah, we will head off. I say that's been another Friday feeling in the books. Originally, my plan wasn't even to do one this weekend, but I say the Celtic board, they give us headlines, they give us stuff to talk about. So yeah, I say you can go and download the minutes if you wish to read through them. But if you don't want to get angry, then maybe you don't want to read it, because it's more of the same fluff that we've seen enough times from this board. But yeah, we'll head off now. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, folks. Obviously, we'll try and get some other shows done. I'm looking for Connor to be like the sort of host of TikToking. So we'll try and get that done as well. We've more midweek games coming up as well. It gives us a reason to do a lot more midweek shows. But obviously, if all else fails, you know that me and Liam will be back next Friday for that Friday feeling again. And obviously, we'll have a post-match show for the Dundee game, which I believe we're playing on the Sunday, week on Sunday. So we're playing. So yeah, what to look forward to, in a very busy month coming up with Hearts at Tynecastle and Rangers at Hampden in a cup semi-final still to come. So yeah, a lot on the agenda for Celtic. So guys, we're going to head off now. So enjoy the rest of your weekend, enjoy the rest of your night, whatever you get up to. And yeah, we shall catch you on the next one. Hit the like button on the way out and do all that good stuff. And yeah, we'll catch you later, guys. Cheers.